Hello and welcome to Portsmouth This Week. I'm your host, Conley Zani. This show is under the auspices of Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the personalities, the leaders in this magical place in which we live. I'm excited today to be joined by two of my favorite women, Representative Michelle McGaugh and Senator Linda Ujifuza. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to be
us.
talking to you, and I know you've been guests on the show before, but you're here because there's a very special event coming up on September 9th, and you, along with the team putting this together, are just getting the word out. And so it's a bike event. And Linda, let me just kind of start with you. Tell us about this event and a little bit of how it got started. And
Right. Well,
yeah.
Just in general, it will be on September 9th, and it will be from 9 a.m. to noon.
Okay.
And it is a road closure, but only closed to automobiles. It's going to be open to people who are walking or biking and want to just enjoy a car-free environment from Mason Street to the bridge.
and this is Island Park. So this is
Yes.
officially called the Sakonnet Bike and Coastal Stroll. Am I getting that right? I think I'm a little off.
It's the Sakonnet Coastal Bike and
Stroll.
Bike and
Yeah.
Stroll, yes.
This is so exciting. I mean, it really is neat. Like, I mean, we've never really closed a road like this much before, right?
Yes, it's 2 miles,
Yeah.
and we did something similar on Middle Road starting about 4 years ago, and it was a huge success, and we just thought we would try it in a different location because we had the opportunity to get some funding, and it was from, federal funding from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Preventative Health and Health Services block grant. So this is a $4,000 grant we got from the federal agency that then in turn passed it to the state level, and this is the Rhode Island Department of Health, Grow Smart Rhode Island, and also something called the Providence Streets Coalition. Those state agencies requested applications for a mini grant, and so Portsmouth submitted one.
Wait, specifically around this biking, like they were like, we should do this and do this really right.
Yes, and so
That's
luckily
cool.
we had as the partners who were leading this effort, Bike Newport, and also the Island Park Preservation Society and Association, and they are, we were lucky enough to get the grant of $4,000 and also have donors help us out with other expenses because we do want this to be safe. And so we have a lot of police and other folks who will help us make sure that people are going to be safe and happy.
All right, so I understand, like, so you said Mason Street, so this is most of Island Park. Michelle, you know a little bit about what the route is exactly?
Yeah, actually, Senator Ujifuza and I have been going around talking to a lot of the neighbors to make sure that they're aware of what's going to be happening, but we are trying to get the word out a little bit more broadly.
Yeah.
But from Mason Street, basically down around where Flo's Clam Shack is, and so it's going to be closed from there, and then Park Avenue, all the way over the escape bridge, through the hummocks, then down underneath the Sakonnet Bridge and over to where the railroad bridge is going into Common Fence Point.
Right.
So we see this as an opportunity. We have these two neighborhoods with very, their own personalities, and this is going to be a great way to bring people together from these communities and bring people in from other communities to see what a wonderful place Island Park and Common Fence Point are.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have it open without any car traffic, so people can really enjoy what it's like to be able to ride your bike or to walk through a busy area and not have to worry about car traffic.
Yeah.
So we expect this to be very family friendly. We're hoping to see lots of kids out on bicycles or scooters or whatever it is that they want to be out on, but not have to worry about cars.
Okay, so if I want to go to this, which I do, I mean, I'm right in Common Fence Point, and I totally agree. This is just a cool thing for our two neighborhoods to do. So where would I load up my bike in a car and go park it somewhere over close to Flo's, or what's the? suggestion.
You can enter the area, the car-free area from either direction. So if you're in Island Park, you can come from your house and just ride your bike down. If you're in Common Fence Point, you'll be able to park somewhere in Common Fence
Community
Point.
center or
at the
whatever?
community
Yeah.
center, and ride from that end. If you
Okay.
come from the other side, if you're coming from the southern end of things, there will be some parking down along Park Avenue, but we're also making parking available at Hathaway School. And so people will be able to park at Hathaway and then ride their bike down to where the event will be.
So this is going to be a big deal, like clearly. Like this is getting the school involved. Like, are we hoping all of Portsmouth comes out?
I am hoping that all of Portsmouth and more. I want everybody to see just what's happening in Island Park, in that whole community. There's been so much development there, in as far as what the Island Park Improvement Association has been doing. A lot more businesses. We have the beach. They've put benches along the side of the road so that people can look out at the water. I think there's been a lot of improvements made in that neighborhood, and I really want to draw people in, get out of their cars so that they can see what's happening down there.
Yeah, and I think because of COVID having kept us all so isolated from each other, there's a real desire in the community to reconnect with each other, and not through Zoom. So I think this is a chance for everybody in town to see old friends, make new friends, and it'll just be like a very happy reunion, I think, for a lot of folks. And also, we want to make sure that people have the opportunity to get outside and get exercise and socialization, because, again, because of COVID, there was a significant amount of depression or anxiety that comes from just having all this isolation and not getting out so much.
Big mental health issues, right?
Yes, yes.
Certainly.
And so, this is supposed to be a community-led initiative to promote street safety, health, active transportation, and creative activation of streets. And so we wanted this at the town council level since 2019. We passed a resolution asking for something called a complete streets ordinance, and that's part of the reason that we got this grant, because they knew that Portsmouth was not just thinking of this all of a sudden. We've been wanting to have streets that were safe for pedestrians and bicyclists for a few years. That effort got a little bit derailed because of COVID, but our town planner had created a draft complete streets ordinance. So I think Portsmouth has put itself in a good position vis-a-vis the state authorities looking to hand out money for this sort of thing by saying we've wanted to have these kind of events and safe streets for a while. We're planning to do that, and so give us the money and we can show you what can happen if we are allowed to have some funding for it. So we're in a good spot.
So you said 3 years ago there was an effort toward this on Middle Road.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the ins and outs of that. So that was like a mini, this is a bigger version of that.
Yeah, and it was funny because town council person Daniela Abbott and I were at a conference, and she said, "Oh, there's the lady from Bike Newport."
Yeah.
And we just ran up to her to introduce ourselves, and we just started brainstorming, and we said, wouldn't it be cool to just close a road in Portsmouth to car traffic and allow them to bike? And we said, how about Middle Road and calling it a farm-to-farm bike event?
Okay.
And
a lot of people came out, right?
It was very successful.
Yeah.
Thousands,
it really
and we had very little time to plan, and it was super successful.
Yeah.
And so there was really a desire, a hunger for this sort of thing. And
now what's going to be great in Island Park is we've got all of these businesses that are participating in this. So if you need to stop and get some water, a drink, breakfast, right? Like that's there, because that wasn't on Middle Road, right?
That was not.
That was one of the challenges.
Yeah, we were planning so quick. We had so little time to plan. As I mentioned to you earlier, there was some kids who set up a lemonade stand on the Middle Road event, and it was the only source of some drink at the very end of the ride, and people were just flocking to this thing, and I think they have
So those kids made a killing.
They made a killing. They did. I'm sure they thought, wow, I didn't know this is such a lucrative thing. But yeah, I think there'll be actual businesses who will be supplying food and drink.
There are businesses that are open, people go for breakfast in Island Park, they
I
go to the
go
restaurants
every
and have
weekend.
breakfast.
Yeah.
And so those businesses, those businesses that are normally open, I expect them to still be open, and we encourage people to stop by those businesses, maybe grab something to drink or a bite to eat while they're down there. But again, really explore the area.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure those businesses, I get it, like they must have kind of some mixed feelings, like they're probably excited about the potential of this event, but also maybe, they need their customers to come. Right?
Absolutely,
right?
Yes. And so it's really important, when we do this, we want this to be successful, not just for the people of Portsmouth and being able to ride without the car, in a car-free environment, but we want it to be successful for the people in Island Park as well, so that they can really appreciate what this is going to add to their community. And we want to make sure that people are supporting the businesses during this event, and hopefully it will draw people down so that once they know what businesses are down there, that they'll be able to visit those businesses more frequently once they have a greater awareness of what's there.
Yeah, and like you said, there's been a lot of development and a lot of cool things happening in that neck of the woods. So is it your impression that people are on board with this in general, or what if, I know you all have hit the streets, right? You've been knocking on some doors. I'd be curious to hear the range of responses to this, if you could paint a picture for us.
Yeah, so Michelle and I volunteered to hand out the letters to voluntold to hand out the letters.
Is that a technical term?
Right, and I think Michelle can tell you it's been pretty unanimously positive responses from folks who we've actually spoken to, and the letter was very detailed to describe what was going to happen, to give people a lot of notice. Some people might have to get out and actually drive a car in an emergency situation, and the police have told us that they would be allowed to be escorted through this event to get out in an emergency. So we're confident that there won't be any safety issues on that front, but there will also be lots of time for people to plan to get their chores taken care of, so they don't have to just casually drive through between 9 and noon. So
and that's really what we were doing when we were out knocking on doors, talking to neighbors. We wanted to make sure we wanted to let them know so that they could plan ahead. So if they have if they normally do their shopping on Saturday morning, if they could do it on Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon when this event is not going on, just so that they could be aware. So we did a lot of that. It was interesting when some of the neighbors were asking us if we could do this all the time. They thought if this could be permanent, it'd be wonderful. It would make it much quieter in front of their streets, because we were on talking with people who directly live on the route.
Yeah.
But
they
also
would welcome it. They're going to welcome not having the traffic there on
right.
Okay, interesting.
The other thing I will say, obviously there are some people who were worried about whether or not they were going to be able to get out, which is one of the reasons we wanted to provide so much advance notice. If you live on the Cove side of Island Park, there will be detours so that you can get out through some of those side roads out to the other side.
All of those streets are connected, right?
Correct. So they will still be able to get out, and so that they'll just get redirected to exit the neighborhood from a different route. There are a few streets that are blocked in, and that's one of the reasons that we really wanted to get in and talk to those people and make them aware of what was going to be happening. But like I said, the response has been overwhelmingly positive as we talk to people.
I'm excited about it.
And so, if people are unsure or they think that maybe they are going to need to get out that day, if they could just, we left a flyer with everyone, and they can just contact. I don't know if you have the letter with the phone number. But there was a phone number that they could dial out to.
Yeah, so we have the flyer that we're going to make available in this show, and so people will be able to look and see all the contact info and everything, and we would encourage anybody that needs to reach out to do so, right?
Right.
But for the most part, we have made plans, and as the senator said, if somebody does need to get out for an emergency, then certainly there's going to be a good police presence. Part of what we used the grant for was to make sure that the police were involved in the planning, so that this is not going to be problematic for people who need to leave their homes. So should there be any emergency, they will be there to help people people get out of the neighborhood if they need
and they're
to.
really good at that kind of thing, planning
Yes.
for that.
Right,
So-
and we did have them from the beginning. The police were helping us plan, and we also went before the town council so that everybody is aware of this, and that's how
Yeah.
we were able to get DOT, because it is a state road, to approve it. We had
Okay.
the town officials
Yeah,
give
to
it
say
the stamp.
everybody's behind us here.
Everybody was behind it,
Yeah.
and we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge. So we are just here, frankly, because our schedules allowed us to be here. But there are other people who were leading the charge, and I want to mention them. It was Mike McFarland, who's
Yeah.
the chair or president of the Island Park Preservation Association. There's also John Vitt, who is a member of that association and doing a lot of the groundwork, trying to talk to neighbors and whatnot. There's Ovanis Sungarian, who's a volunteer, used to work at Raytheon and a project manager, so he's helped
Yeah,
us
wonderful.
get the sheets, the Excel spreadsheets going in the right direction. And
Chris Barker.
Chris Barker, who is the chair, is the he's the
President of
no,
Bike
he's the
Newport?
he's the chief finance person at Bike Newport.
Okay.
And Barry Freeman as well. She's the CEO. So,
Oh, wow.
And we've also included the Portsmouth Police, the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. I mean, there's a lot of groups that have been involved to make sure that this is all going to run
right,
smoothly.
DPW,
Yes.
can't forget DPW.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's actually probably shocking how many people have to be involved to pull off something like this.
Yes,
Are you left
yes.
with that?
Yes,
That
yes.
feeling like, oh my goodness, we thought this would be easier. Maybe you didn't, but like,
No, and I'm sure we're going to leave someone out, but I have to also mention Wendy Bulk, who's the
our
Parks and Rec
yes,
person,
yes.
and also the Portsmouth Historical Society might participate. We're soliciting volunteers, so everybody who can volunteer that day, please contact Bike Newport and help us out for just a couple hours, making sure people know where the trail is, and also, just
Right, so
help.
that's probably what volunteering looks like, is you're helping guide people or get people.
Helping people with any questions along the side of the road, but also if people are trying to access the road, say they're coming from the Island Park neighborhood, trying to get out on the main road, just helping to redirect them
Yeah.
to a path so that they can get out of their neighborhood should they need to. So really just being there as an informational source to anybody who's in the area and is maybe challenged with getting to where they need to
Maybe
be.
calming some people down, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I think it'll be a great thing because everyone will be meeting at the new Sunset Cove diner, and it's going to be a place where there will be music and food.
Yeah, it's sort of a
and-
central location on the route, right?
Yes,
Correct.
Yes, and a place where people can gather and just reconnect with each other. So it should be really fun.
Oh my goodness, it's going to be, I hope for beautiful weather,
Yes.
not like today, that's very rainy,
No.
right?
I know, and I do feel since this is the first time we're doing this, it'll be a learning experience. Of course, there'll be ways that we can improve it if we do it again. I'm hoping we do this again, and we'll see.
I bet we will. I think it's going to be fantastic. And also as a representative of Common Fence Point, I can't wait to just lengthen the route just a little bit more so it gets a little deeper into our neighborhood. I mean, I know a lot of people will be coming right out of our neighborhood and hopefully parking at our community center and in the playground and the field, because that would be a great place to, we've got tons of space for cars, and then they can just come right under that bridge.
Yeah, and especially
connect.
children are so happy to be able to do something they ordinarily cannot do, and that would be to run around, on a
Yeah.
street without cars to worry about. So it could be just very family friendly, but also we want to make sure people understand it's for all ages, and time to stroll, say hello to neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm also hoping it'll give an awareness to the comfort that can be made available if you're able to ride your bike in a safe zone. There's so much support for biking across Aquidneck Island. I'm forever hearing from constituents about how do they get their bike from one end of the island to another
Right.
safely.
Right, we should
We
be able
have
to
a
do
wonderful
that.
bike path that goes over the Secana Bridge to connect Portsmouth and Tiverton, but taking your bike from there to, say, another area, anywhere to ride your bike further south into Portsmouth is, it's
Well, quite frankly, coming off that beautiful bike path and even getting from there to the Common Fence Point Bridge is a little harrowing.
Right.
It is.
It's
the shoulders are
harrowing.
narrow.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
No,
And so we've, there's been a lot of discussion. I know that many of us have been working across Aquidneck Island about how we can improve bicycle infrastructure across Aquidneck Island. And so I'm hoping that this will kind of bring attention to just how nice it would be to have a safe biking area, so that maybe we can also draw some support for some of the projects that we're hoping are going to be forthcoming in the next couple of years to really expand it so that people can ride their bikes safely. Wouldn't it be wonderful to ride your bike, say, from Common Fence Point to Clements Market to get your groceries and not have to hop in your car? The majority of car trips across Aquidneck Island are less than 5 miles.
Yeah.
And so those are bikeable trips, and if we could
within the range,
find a way for it to be done safely, I think that's a really positive step forward for us. And so I'm hoping that people will experience this and see just how wonderful that is, and then we'll hope to gain a little bit more support as we're going forward.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
It is, and I think the experience too will echo what I saw in the COVID vaccination clinic experience I had, which is you suddenly get a group of people from Portsmouth together. We have never met each other. We might not have very much in common at all, but you put us all in a room and say, this is the mission, folks, and all of a sudden everyone is like, okay, how can we help? And it's just very heartwarming, and I met a lot of people that way that I ordinarily would never meet, and this is such a more positive experience where I'm sure if you show up and you say, is there some help I can offer? The answer will be yes. And you just get to know people and feel like you're involved in a community effort that helps children and older people and everyone, and it's just uplifting in this time when sometimes there's not so much uplifting stuff around you, and you'll like it. You will like it. It will be fun. And so I think if calling all volunteers, and in fact our emergency management person, Ray Perry, said that he would be reaching out to volunteers who helped with the COVID vaccination clinic to try to volunteer in this effort as well, because it's just a bunch of people who want to chip in, and it's very uplifting to meet them.
And we have a lot of those people in Portsmouth.
A ton of people. As you know from your experience at Common Fence Point, when you wanted to do the rain garden, all of a sudden it was
100 people in a hole digging together.
Yes.
Smiling.
What a great way to connect, right? I mean, people tend to connect better when they're working together, right? When they have a common goal.
Yes.
And so this is a
the potential.
Fun common goal for us to bring people together.
Yeah. Okay. So how many people are you expecting in this? If we had thousands on Middle Road, we're probably thinking this is going to be much bigger, right?
You just never know. We're just hoping. Yes.
Yeah. Do you want a little RSVP to this, or?
Yeah.
So we are asked, yes, so Bike Newport has asked for anybody who's attending, there is an RSVP that they can go to. You'll see several, there are some Facebook pages out there, or you could just go to the Bike Newport webpage, and if they can just RSVP, just so that we have an idea, we can kind of gauge how many people are going to be there. That would be really helpful.
How big is this circus going to be, really?
I mean, this is the first time we've done it, so we really just don't know what to expect. We're hoping for a really good turnout. We're hoping that people are as excited as we are about having a safe place to bike for a morning. But if people can RSVP, then we'll make sure, that way we can make sure that we have enough volunteers and our
resources,
planning.
just whatever those resources are. Enough police, enough water, enough...
Porta-johns.
Enough porta-johns, thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Right. So that's what we're asking. We're asking if people can go to the website and just RSVP.
Okay, well, I'm sure we can make that happen too. So does this feel like kind of giving birth a little bit? Like, just like, are you ready to be done? Excited, but like, is it going to feel like, wow, because we've been talking about this a long time.
I'll be really excited when it happens, but I'm not at the point where I'm exhausted about talking about it, because it's just so exciting and so much fun and so nice to be planning a real positive event that I feel that the community can really get their hands around and support. that I'm not feeling any of that fatigue about talking about this project
It doesn't
at
seem
all.
like you are.
And I'm hoping that it is a grand success so that we can do it again.
I'm just starting to realize all the pieces that had to come together to make this happen. Have there been any big surprises, good or bad, along the way?
I think just well, Bike Newport has told us that when they do events, they're not used to having a lot of volunteers in the community join with them and plan and really work to get the event to happen.
Yeah.
And we're now in the last few weeks going to be meeting weekly to discuss, okay, did you call so-and-so and do this and that? And you know, and the Chris Barker from Bike Newport has said, this is so cool to have a group of people, you know, helping organize an event. So we're, I think that's our trademark.
I think we're proud that the community has really come around along on this. And I'll say maybe I'm not fatigued about this project because I'm not doing all, you know, as much work as some of the others. You know, I mean, Ovanis as the project manager has done a fantastic job, and John Vitt. And whenever there's something, he says, "I'm on it. I'll take care of it." You know, it's just nice to be working with a group that is so willing to take on all of the different tasks associated with it.
Everything takes time. I mean, Ovanis was taking these posters and going to every library and putting them up. You know, he's distributing those posters in other places, and you know, you can't just like go. You have to drive to the place, ask, "Is it okay if I put up a sign, stick it up?" You know, so all these things that take a lot of time, and you know, it's also going door to door. We were voluntold because we're used to going door to door, and it's kind of fun to reconnect with people because first they're like, "Are you trying to sell me something?" And it's like, "Oh," and or "Do you want to talk about politics?" No, we're just telling you about an event, and they're like relieved, and then willing to talk to us about just generally how things are going.
Struck up some great conversations.
Yes,
well,
it really has.
Well, and it also must have been kind of nice. I mean, you got to reconnect with these people because I know when you were both running, like you knocked on all sorts of doors, and what a great thing to go back, knock on those same doors, and be like, I got some really awesome news to tell you about something really spectacular happening in your neck of the woods.
Well, we were also going out in the absolute hottest days to do this.
Oh, did you pick the hottest?
Oh my gosh! And because Michelle has a full-time job, and we have to do it when we can do it. And it was like I think a Saturday or Sunday.
We'd go out on a Saturday afternoon. It would be about 90 and humid, and we'd be out knocking on doors.
Yes, and I'd keep turning to her saying, "Do I look okay? I feel really like I need a."
But people are wonderful, and they'll stop, and you know, would you like a drink of water? They honestly, I mean, people are so welcoming and friendly, and that's what's wonderful about the neighborhood, right?
It is. It really is, and I love when they say, "Do you need some water?" And at first I thought, "Well, aren't you nice?" And then I realized it's because I look so bad that they think I need something. It's like, can I get you a towel maybe or something? So it's like, no.
One thing I do want to, before we close off, and I want to make sure that I include, for people who live in Island Park, we are working with some of the neighborhood businesses to be able to park your car. So if people typically park on Park Avenue, because that road is going to be closed, the number on the flyer that we sent around, and it should be on the website as well, if they call that number, we can arrange for a place for them to park their car. A number of them, Frank's Auto, for example, I've been told is going to move the cars that he's typically working on out of the area so that those spaces will be available, so that if you normally park on Park Avenue for your home, you'll have a place to put your car so that it can free things up a little bit. So that type of
you guys have thought of
coordination,
everything.
honestly, that's the kind of coordination, you know, between the businesses and the community that really brings all this together, and that makes me so proud of how we're able to get this done.
It's so exciting.
It is.
This has been wonderful to talk to you all about this amazing event. We'll see you next time on Portsmouth This Week. We've been talking about the Seconic Coastal Bike and Stroll today.